Thank you very much for coming over this afternoon. My name is Zipporah Inorak, and please welcome to the press conference for Pauktuutit Inuit Women of Canada. We will hear from Rebecca Kallu, our president, and she will be participating by phone from Baker Lake in Nunavut. Here in Ottawa is Mika Otway. She is our secretary-treasurer. As I mentioned, we will have the lighting of the qullaq. And thank you. And I am honored to introduce you to Ripa Ivik Carlton, who will be lighting the qullaq.
For me to light the qullaq before everybody this afternoon, it's an honor because it allowed us to survive in a very harsh environment when we were just living in outpost camps at the time.
And I would now like to invite our president, Rebecca Kallu, to speak through a link.
And I'm sorry I can't be there in person, but my heart is there with you. During this historic launch of Canada's national inquiry on murder and missing Indigenous women and girls. We do not know which families will be attending. Please know that if we have known, we would have reached out to you. We have promised that we would support you prior and during and after inquiry. We want you to know that Pauktuutit is here for you today and going forward as always. It's been a long, hard road to get to this point. On behalf of the National Inuit Women's Organization, Pauktuutit, whose membership comprise of all areas in Inuit and urban areas. We have spoken with the interests of the Inuit women of Canada in mind for more than 30 years. As many of you know, Pauktuutit did not initially support a national inquiry. We felt strongly a few years ago the money and the time that would be required for this inquiry would be better and immediately spent on addressing crisis in our communities in Inuit. Money spent on housing, counseling, and mental health support for victims of violence and survivors of residential schools. Support for victims of crime. In Inuit, there's very few resources to deal with past traumas like residential school, relocation, and those are things that people are still suffering from past experiences, and there's very little resources to deal with those in a small community. Since the national inquiry was announced by the federal government this fall, it was always our expectation that we would speak for ourselves. Our pre-consultation meeting that was held this February in the same room as you are now resulted in specific recommendations to make this inquiry meaningful for Inuit. We also wanted to be full participants from the beginning to the end as Inuit. We also made a recommendation to the government that we have an Inuit woman as a commissioner. We thought our recommendation would be honored. In the past, like when the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was formed, there were no Inuit commissioners. And this time around, we wanted to have Inuit commissioner to speak for us. I was personally given the names of the individuals who were appointed as commissioners for the National Inquiry in late June. Since that time, Pauktuutit Executive Committee and I have done everything we could to ensure that one of the 5 commissioners would be an Inuit. I'm sorry to say that we have not succeeded, and as of today, today's announcement, it's my understanding that not one of the 5 commissioners will be an Inuit woman. I have also been saddened by the fact that we have not been able to communicate any information or updates about the national inquiry to Inuit, and especially the family members who have put trust in us. I apologize if you feel we have let you down. We have worked very hard. As Inuit, we always work in a consensus basis. We have been feeling increasingly pressured from many Inuit to update them, but before I got a call about the 5 commissioners, this was not happening. We now feel that we have no choice but to make a public statement about our concerns as a national Indigenous women's organization. And on behalf of Inuit women in Canada, this is not about individuals. This is not in any way personal. For this inquiry to be meaningful to Inuit, it must be led by Indigenous women, including us Inuit women. This is, to me, a fundamental matter of principle, equality, and trust. As Inuit women, most of us live in regions with the highest rates of violence in the country. I cannot understand how in 2016 we are still not included. To us, this does not feel like 2016 for all women in Canada. Pauktuutit has been reaching out, and we are still hopeful that we can find a way to work together and move forward on this. Pauktuutit is here to work with the federal government and others. We remain committed to helping this inquiry meaningful for Inuit women and girls, as well as our families who have suffered such profound losses. Already this morning, we have heard increasing support from far and wide from Inuit for an Inuit commissioner. This is broad and growing support for our position across the 4 regions of Inuit Nunangat. This is what I have to say for now. We can entertain questions from the press.
As Inuit women, we are distinct in our Canada. We are also distinct as Inuit women from other Indigenous women in Canada. We are Inuit. We have our distinct rightful place to have a voice. Live in regions with the highest rates of violence in the country and the fewest services and support. Having press conference and having to make such strong public political statement is not our way. We always try to work with first, but we ran out of opportunities to work with the federal government and fix this and make it right. I am hoping Canadians from coast to coast to coast will follow the work of inquiry and will become engaged with it, the spirit of reconciliation and the understanding this issue. We need to come together as individuals, governments, and as a country, and work together to find proper justice from happening in our community.
I was just wondering if you had any particular objection to the choice of Ms. Robinson as a commissioner on the inquiry, or if you would have had the similar concerns over any other person who was not an Inuk woman.
As I said, this is not personal. The fact that we wanted an Inuk commissioner, and we didn't want to be an afterthought like we were at TRC Commission. We have very strong women in our regions as ambassadors, one nominated for a Nobel Prize, presidents of our land claims. So we also have lawyers and doctors and nurses. They are out there in our communities that could have easily suit the commissioner's role. Why we are saying this is, as I've said so many times, is how can a non-Inuk speak to us and understand fully what we have gone through as First Nations. We have gone through residential school, intergenerational effects, also relocation, sexual abuse from priests and people that our parents trusted. We have gone hungry. There's food shortage in our communities. Those are things that only an Inuk would understand. That's why we were fighting so hard to have an Inuk commissioner.
Hi, it's Joanna Smith again from the Canadian Press. Just as a follow-up, did the minister tell you whether any other Inuk woman had been approached or considered and had turned down the job? I'm just wondering if you could share more also about her response to you when you explained why this was important to the families.
What we have been told is that they didn't want political organizations to influence the decision of the government. That's what we have been told. So that's, it's been very difficult because, once again, we are not being heard by the government.
I saw some media reports saying that you were going to ask for a sixth commissioner. Are you going to ask for anything else here, or is this over and you're just going to carry on with
Yes, and we have done that. We also asked if nothing can be changed, that a sixth commissioner be added, and that person be the sixth commissioner be Inuk, and we didn't get that.
It's Tina calling from CBC North here. I was wondering if you can tell me how you feel about the rest of the details of how the inquiry is going to proceed.
I would like to load taman na kawisang New York, Inuit, ilaw Jacob Lutigo. Kisiamit daw aksoy na lo at inong mi Commissioner Kaumalita.
Rebecca, it's Tina again from CBC North. I was wondering what the next steps are going to be as well as far as Pauktuutit is concerned in terms of supporting the families to prepare them for the upcoming inquiry in September.
As we have said, we will support the families, and we've been working on this for a while. When it was announced, we've been involved in murder and missing Indigenous women roundtables and National Aboriginal Women's Summit. So we will support Inuit families the best way we can. Also lobbying the government to provide proper supports for the families. As you know, when a woman is murdered, it affects not only the families, it affects the whole communities, especially in a small community where everybody knows everybody else. So Pauktuutit will do their part to support the families.
It's Sarah Rogers calling from Nunatsiaq News.
Go ahead, please.
Hi, Rebecca. I just was curious to know if anyone from Pauktuutit has had a chance to speak with Kayak Robinson yet, or if there are plans to sit down with her about how you can work together on this.
Not at this time. Like I said, we will work with her. But at this time, we haven't had a chance to do that.
Okay. One other quick question. I know you've talked before about your request to ensure that there's Inuit language support for families before, during, and after the inquiry itself. Is Pauktuutit expecting any other Inuit-specific aspects of this inquiry?
We were told that there'll be elders groups and, of course, Pauktuutit working with the inquiry. One of our recommendations after our pre-consultation was to have counseling in the language that the families speak, and also we have different dialects. It's very important that when you're being counseled that it's in your language and your dialect. So, like I said earlier, there's very few resources in the communities, but we encourage the government to work with the community. They are the ones that know their communities, and when you are dealing with past hurts, you know, your first language comes up. That happens in any situation that you're dealing with a crisis. You know, even if you're fluent in English, it comes in your first language. It comes out as in your first language.
Thank you, everyone, for attending this conference. We appreciate the questions, and I hope the answers answered your questions. On behalf of our president, Rebecca Kaluk, and also Inuit Women of Canada, I would like to say thank you very much for attending this conference, and I think we're going to go forward, and thank you, Mika, Ripa, and also July for assisting in this press conference, and also to all staff of Pauktuutit, and of course our Inuit missing ladies in Canada. You will be in our hearts forever, and this is a symbol of our remembrance to those missing and murdered. So thank you very much for attending our conference.